The cafe smelled of warm bread and roasted coffee beans, comforting scents that usually made Mia feel safe, even on the hardest days. This morning, however, they barely reached her. She sat in the corner booth with her daughter Lily, trying to steady her trembling hands as she tore her blueberry muffin in half, pretending it was enough for breakfast. "Mommy, are you not hungry?" Lily asked, pushing a loose curl out of her eyes. "I'm okay, baby," Mia said with a smile that didn't reach her tired eyes. "You eat. You need it for school." If she could choose, she would have let Lily eat everything. But children notice things, no matter how gently you try to hide them. Mia caught her daughter glancing at the empty space in front of her, where a plate should have been. She quickly took a sip of her water, pretending it was what she wanted. Rain pattered softly against the windows, turning the street outside hazy and gray. People rushed past with umbrellas and dry coats, never glancing inside long enough to see the scene in the corner booth, a mother searching for hope and a child trying to understand a world that already felt too heavy. Two students sat at a nearby table, whispering. "She looks exhausted," one murmured. "Probably wants money," the other replied. Mia lowered her gaze, cheeks burning. She wasn't begging, she never had, but somehow poverty made you guilty in the eyes of people who had never tasted it. Her phone buzzed, another message from her landlord. "Rent reminder. Last extension. Must resolve by Friday." Mia locked her screen quickly so Lily wouldn't see the look of fear that always followed messages like that. She had already asked for more time twice. She was ashamed to ask again. The truth was, she couldn't give what she didn't have. Her job at the grocery store had cut her hours last month. Seasonal adjustment, her manager had claimed, though she'd noticed that the employees who kept their full hours were all young men with fewer obligations. She didn't have the strength to argue, not when she needed every shift she could get. That job was all that stood between her and losing everything. Lily swung her legs under the table. "Mommy, are we still going to look at apartments today?" Mia swallowed hard. She didn't want to crush her daughter's hope. "We'll try, sweetheart. The nice lady from last time said she'd call us." But the nice lady had stopped answering. Affordable places were snapped up before Mia could even fill out an application. And the ones still available required background checks, deposits, security, and income verification she couldn't provide anymore. Still, she couldn't tell Lily that. Not yet. A waitress approached their table, her smile warm but her steps hesitant. "Hi there. Would you like anything else today? Maybe something warm?" Mia shook her head. "No, thank you. We're fine." The waitress opened her mouth to offer something, maybe a free pastry, maybe nothing at all, before her manager called her over sharply. "Table 4 needs refills." She flinched and walked away, throwing Mia an apologetic glance. Mia understood that look. It was the look of someone who wanted to help but was afraid of losing what little security they had. The world was full of people like that. Another couple entered the cafe, business clothes, expensive briefcases, confidence in their stride. They ordered loudly, barely glancing at Mia and Lily as they sat. But the woman wrinkled her nose slightly, as if poverty had a smell. Mia kept her daughter close and her pride closer. Her stomach knotted painfully. She hadn't eaten since yesterday. She didn't like lying to Lily, but hunger had become a familiar ache, something she learned to ignore like background noise. The cafe door opened again, letting in a gust of cold wind that rustled napkins and made Lily shiver. Mia gently wrapped her worn scarf around her daughter's shoulders, even though she herself felt cold enough to shake. "Mama," Lily whispered, "when you smile like that, is it your pretend smile?" Mia froze. Lily's voice was soft, innocent, but it pierced deeper than anything else. "My pretend smile? You do it when you're sad," Lily said matter-of-factly, as children do when they're honest without knowing they're hurting you. "But you don't want me to know." Mia swallowed the lump swelling in her throat. She reached across the table and took Lily's small hand. "Sometimes grown-ups worry a little. But I'm okay. You're my brave girl, and we're going to be all right." Lily nodded, trusting her completely. That trust was the only thing keeping Mia standing some days. A moment later, a man in his 70s sat down at a table near them. He wore an old coat, patched at the elbows, and carried a tattered newspaper. He glanced toward Mia with kind, knowing eyes, the kind of eyes that had lived through hard years. He didn't pity her, he simply understood. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out 2 small hard candies. Without saying a word, he slid one across the table to Lily and one to Mia. Then he returned to reading his paper. It was a tiny gesture. A simple one, but it cracked something open inside Mia, like someone reminding her she hadn't gone entirely invisible. "Thank you," she whispered. The man nodded without looking up, as though this was just how people ought to treat one another. Mia checked the time. The housing office would open in an hour. Maybe she could get someone different today, someone who wouldn't dismiss her with a sigh. Someone who might actually listen. She gathered her courage, her purse, and the last pieces of her resolve. But as she reached for Lily's hand, the cafe door swung open again. 3 figures walked in, 2 men and a woman, all in crisp suits that contrasted sharply with the worn warmth of the cafe. They didn't look like customers. They looked like people with purpose. They scanned the room, their eyes precise, almost searching. The woman's gaze landed on Mia. She paused, exchanged a quiet word with the man beside her, and walked forward. "Excuse me," she said gently, her voice warm but professional. "Are you Mia Carter?" Mia blinked, unsure whether to answer. "Yes." The woman placed a thick, official-looking file on the table, its weight making a soft thud that silenced Mia's breath. Her name, printed in bold ink, stared back at her. Mia felt the world pause around her. "We're here on your behalf," the woman said softly. "There are things you deserve to know. And you don't have to face any of this alone anymore." And right there, in that tiny cafe where she had tried to disappear, Mia's life shifted, quietly, unexpectedly, and forever. Mia stared at the file as though it might vanish if she blinked too hard. It felt impossible, unreal, that something with her name printed so neatly on the cover could hold anything other than another problem, another demand, another weight added to her already heavy life. She glanced at Lily, whose small fingers were curled around the last bite of muffin. The little girl watched the strangers with wide, curious eyes. Mia shielded her instinctively, scooting her closer, as if these 3 well-dressed professionals could somehow threaten the fragile bubble she'd built around their world. I don't understand," Mia whispered, her fingers barely grazing the edge of the file. "I didn't hire a lawyer. I can't afford." "You don't owe us anything," the woman said gently, sitting across from her. "We're here because someone reached out on your behalf." Mia's brows knitted together. "Someone? Who?" "I don't know anyone who could." "You'd be surprised who notices kindness," the woman replied with a small smile. The cafe noise faded, replaced by the thundering of Mia's heartbeat. She had met good people before, brief flashes of hope in an otherwise uphill life, but none had ever done something like this. No one had ever stepped into her struggles with enough force to change the trajectory of her entire future. The woman opened the file. Neatly stacked papers lay inside, each one a piece of a puzzle Mia didn't know anyone else cared to understand. The first page bore the name of her employer. Under it were notes, pay stubs, time cards, and highlighted sections of employment laws she had never had the strength to study. Her throat tightened as she recognized her own handwriting on a complaint form she had submitted 9 months ago, a form she had filled out with determination but never received a response to. "One of dozens. We reviewed your situation," the male lawyer said, sliding one document gently toward her. "You've been underpaid by approximately $6,000 over the last 18 months. Mia stared at him. 6,000. She felt dizzy. That number was unimaginable to her. Astronomical. The kind of amount she always heard about other people receiving, never herself. "Your employer also violated labor laws by cutting your hours without notice," the other man added. "You were entitled to appeal it. But every request you made was ignored." Mia's fingers trembled. She remembered writing email after email late at night, hoping someone, anyone, would acknowledge her situation. She remembered standing in her manager's office, clutching her hands together to hide their shaking as she begged for more shifts. She remembered the humiliating silence that followed. "And that's not all," the woman continued. She pulled out another set of documents, this time with her landlord's name printed at the top. Mia felt her stomach twist. Her landlord had once been kind, or at least neutral. But after her hours were cut, he had changed. The messages had become colder, shorter, more threatening. She had begged for extensions, promised to pay, tried everything. And still, the eviction notice had come, long before legal guidelines allowed. The woman pointed to a section of the notice. "This was filed illegally," she said. "He violated 3 tenant protection laws in the process." Mia stared at the paper, her vision blurring around the edges. She had suspected something wasn't right, but suspicion didn't matter when you had no power. Or when you were too afraid of losing the only roof you had. "I don't understand," she whispered again. "Why would someone do this for me?" The woman closed the file gently. "Because someone saw you. Someone who didn't believe you should fight alone." Mia's lips parted, but words refused to form. Her mind raced through faces, neighbors, co-workers, strangers in passing. Who would have cared enough to take a step this enormous? Who would have fought for her in ways she didn't even know how to fight for herself? Lily tugged on her sleeve. Mommy, are they helping us? The innocence in her daughter's voice broke something deep inside Mia, and tears slipped down her cheeks before she could stop them. She brushed them away quickly, embarrassed. Yes, honey, she whispered, her voice thick. They're helping us. The male lawyer leaned back slightly, giving her space. We filed everything first thing this morning. Your employer will be contacted immediately. Your back pay will be processed within the next few weeks. And your eviction case is being reversed. You won't lose your home. Mia gasped. But, my landlord said. He won't be able to continue the eviction, the woman assured her. You're protected now. Protected. It was a word Mia hadn't felt connected to in a long, long time. She had spent so many nights lying awake, staring at the ceiling, imagining their lives collapsing like sand slipping through her fingers. And now these strangers were telling her that the ground beneath her had suddenly, miraculously, strengthened. But how? She breathed. Why me? The woman's expression softened even more. Because you never stopped trying. Even when everything was stacked against you. You kept working. You kept fighting. You kept loving your daughter. Someone saw that. Mia pressed a shaking hand over her mouth. Every emotion she had held in, every fear, every defeat, every quiet cry she had stifled so Lily wouldn't hear, rushed through her all at once. You deserve a chance to live without fear, the woman said gently. And you deserve justice. Justice. Another word Mia had long stopped expecting. The man beside her pulled out a small envelope. There's something else. An anonymous donor has offered temporary financial support until everything is settled. Enough to cover groceries, school needs for your daughter, and immediate expenses. Mia stared at the envelope as if it were glowing. I can't take charity. This isn't charity, he replied. It's support. Everyone needs support sometimes. Lily leaned into her mother's side, resting her head on her arm. Mommy, are we gonna be okay now? She asked softly. For the first time in years, Mia didn't have to pretend. She didn't have to lie. She didn't have to hide the truth behind a brave smile. She cupped Lily's face gently. Yes, baby, we're going to be okay. The lawyers stood, gathering their things. The woman hesitated before turning away and said one last thing that would stay with Mia forever. The world can be harsh, she said, but it can also be unexpectedly kind. And sometimes, the help we need arrives the moment we stop believing it ever will. The three of them walked out of the cafe, leaving Mia and Lily in the warm sunlight now breaking through the thinning clouds. Mia held the file against her chest, her tears falling freely, but for once, they weren't tears of fear. They were tears of relief, of gratitude, of hope, and for the first time in a long time, Mia believed that maybe, just maybe, life could change in an instant. Sometimes all it took was someone finally choosing to see you.